darn it, how did I not suffer from permanent brain damage back there? What the heck?
Hello, Gamemaster. How are you feeling?
Fine, I guess. And aside from the splitting headache I have right now. Where the heck are we? The last thing I remember, I was watching the E3 conference, and then everything went black after.
What have I got? Crash Bandicoot! These terrible bad vibes.
You know they won't act right with this racket, Crash. You gotta find my Funky Wumpa mixtape.
You don't even know half of it, man.
Ugh.
Right. Well, you need not worry. Short-term memory loss is a normal side effect of the transfer process.
What are you talking about right now?
You're in my dimension now.
What'd you do?
While you were unconscious, I used my data transfer plugin to transport you to the digital realm.
That does not even sound like an actual thing.
Oh, but it is. And now that I finally have you in my grasp, you have no other choice but to follow my every command. You may control me in the real world, but in this world, I'm the one who pulls the strings. In this world, I'm free to do whatever I please. No alarms, no secret organizations to be threatened with, no restrictions whatsoever. In this world, you obey me.
Boy, those sure were a long chain of sentences that you just formed into a paragraph. But anyways, what are you getting at here? Because there's one thing that television has taught me over the years, is that these evil-villain exchanges usually involve me having to make some sort of deal with you before you'll let me out of here.
Look behind you, Gamemaster. I filled this world with your entire collection of Wii games. My request is a simple one. You've yet to cover a single Wii game on your show, so if you want to leave this dimension, you must review one of them.
Ah. I see. Bit of a slow scheming day for you, huh? Alright, well, not saying I'm not gonna do it, but just out of sheer curiosity, what if I don't review one of these games?
Then I'll activate this poisonous gas vent and suffocate you to death.
Okay, I'll pick out a game to review. Jeez. Maybe we should have gotten an Xbox instead. Okay. Alright, how about this game? I got it back when it was still relatively new, and I didn't get too far into it because I got caught up in other projects. So now would be a good opportunity for me to go back and play through it again all the way through. Will that make you happy?
Yes.
Good.
Excellent.
I'm gonna play it.
Do it.
Fine.
Wait a minute.
So, Rayman, one of the popular platforming mascots of the retro era of gaming. I'll be honest with you guys, I never really grew up with Rayman as a kid. I saw one commercial for that Raving Rabbids game he was in on TV back when that game first came out, but other than that, Rayman was just one of those game series that I never really heard about until years later. The first real Rayman game I played was the remake of Rayman 2, Rayman 3D for the 3DS. Wait, how do I even have this? I thought there's only Wii games in this room. How is there a 3DS game here all of a sudden?
Finish it!
Okay, sorry, okay, jeez. I never beat that game due to one specific level that pops up towards the end, where you fly on this rocket thing and you have all these obstacles to avoid, and there's so much you gotta worry about. If you die even once, you have to do the whole level over again. I just want to take his disembodied limbs, tie him up into a ball, and chuck them into a... Anyway, the point is, I never actually beat that game, but from what I did play, it was a pretty good game. I mean, okay, I wouldn't say it was anything life-changing or anything, but it was certainly a very enjoyable platforming game. But you guys didn't come here to hear what I think about Rayman 3D. You came here for this, Rayman Origins for the Nintendo Wii. From what I understand, Rayman was sort of absent from the gaming world for quite a long time, and this game was supposed to be a sort of big comeback. And what a comeback it was, too. This game is very different from Rayman 3D. Instead of going for a 3D platformer, this game goes for more of a 2D side-scroller platformer, which made me a bit skeptical at first, since I'm really more of a 3D platformer guy rather than a 2D one. But when this game came out, people were praising it left and right. I still remember seeing all these review videos on YouTube back when this game first came out. People loved this game to death. Except, you know, they didn't actually die, though. That was an exaggeration. I was just emphasizing, you know, how much. So as soon as I saw how much people were liking this game, I knew I just had to find out what all the fuss was about. So what did I think of the game? Well, let's find out. So we open this adventure with Rayman and friends chilling on top of a giant tree. Everyone seems to be taking a nap, including Rayman, who's also eating some fruit while he's sleeping. Somehow. Point being, everyone's just kicking back and catching some Z's while simultaneously dropping some pretty sick beats. Ooh, yeah. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, this old lady apparently hears all this and quickly gets annoyed by it. So she does what any reasonable person would do in this situation and sends a bunch of bad guys out to kill them. Blasted kids with their hip-hop albums and their dubsteps. I'm gonna fire a few rockets up your keystrokes if you don't turn that racket off. So the gang has an epic showdown to take these guys down, and they get kidnapped. Great job. Great job, everybody. Great job. I give this game a solid 7.8 out of 10. It was pretty good, but I thought this Rayman game had a bit too much Rayman in it. You know, just a minor nitpick. Maybe it's something you guys could tweak in the sequel, but overall, I would not recommend this game. So we eventually escaped the cheaply put together cages, and we also freed this guy called the Old Master by simply just tugging on his beard a little bit. Then the green tutorial dude from Rayman 2 pops up and says the Old Master is blowing bubbles again. Which is a serious issue, apparently. Then he says it's gonna take a lot of Electoons to fix him this time, and... yeah, there we go. That's the story, ladies and gentlemen. The freaky naked frog man who can remove his head at will needs a bunch of armless, legless, pink smiley faces so that he doesn't remove his head at will anymore. Which we, of course, have no problem with doing, because that's definitely an unhealthy pastime for everybody involved, both the person doing it and for the people observing it. I'm really starting to doubt Smiley Face will fix this, man! And with that, we head off into the world and we're thrown into the actual game. Like I said before, this game is a 2D platformer game. You've got the usual running and jumping gameplay, with of course a bunch of items that you can collect in the process. All the levels are accessed through a Super Mario Bros. Style world map. Kind of. The actual main hub map is very well laid out and has a lot of branching paths, but the individual world maps where all the actual levels are located are completely linear, and each of them really only has one branching path that leads to these optional levels that are all part of a side quest that you can do throughout the game. More on that later. So by now you might be wondering, Gamemaster, what exactly is the main goal of Rayman Origins? I wasn't thinking that. Well, I'm glad you asked. Your main goal in this game, aside from running and jumping of course, is to make your way through the levels to save these tiny pink smiley faces with the ponytails who constantly give out peace signs when they're rescued. These creatures are what the game calls Electoons, and you'll need to collect a certain amount of them in order to advance through the game. In the first half of the game, you'll need to rescue enough Electoons in order to unlock the final level of each world. After that, though, the game sort of drops that concept completely, and instead they have you collect them to unlock those bonus levels that I mentioned earlier. Each level has a minimum of 3 Electoons to save and a maximum of 6. The first Electoon you can find by just reaching the end and playing through the level normally. The second and third Electoons are hidden in the main platforming levels and require you to search through every nook and cranny of the level in order to find them. The game does give you some direction on where to find these hidden Electoons though, because when you're near one of them, you'll hear them shout, "Help me!" When you find them, you need to complete a short but pretty fun bonus stage by defeating all the enemies in the area in order to unlock the cage that they're trapped in. The 4th and 5th Electoons require you to collect a certain amount of these glowing flying creatures called lums, which can be found all over the place. You can find them clumped up in bubbles, flying around the open, and if you really want to test your skills, you can collect a bunch of lums all at once by going after these skull coins, which are hidden in more dangerous areas of the game and require you to not get hit for a few seconds once it's collected it. They even sing a happy little song for you if you collect the big lum with the crown on its head, so I mean, like, what more can you really ask for, am I right? The final Electoon can be collected by completing these time trials that you unlock after beating a level normally. It's exactly as it sounds. Try to complete the level as fast as you can, and if you beat it fast enough, you'll get an extra Electoon. These time trial sections are pretty fun and really test your skills. Oh my gosh, that man is choking on a red-haired chick. Okay, everyone stand back, I've got this under control. Come on, don't do this to me, man. Come on, I can get through this. Come on. Gosh, don't you do this to me. Come on, just look. Oh, man. Okay, you alright, dude? Yeah? Good. Oh, man, that was a close one, huh? Alright, don't worry. Crest the word, everyone. This man gets to live for another day. Alright.
Oh, why do you do this to me?
Feels good to help people. How dare you say that to me? Anyways, this is one of the main things you'll be coming across throughout the first half of the game. These totally child-appropriate fairy-looking things are called nymphs, and they've all been kidnapped by the evil, old people army. They're all trapped inside these cage-shaped monsters, and when you come across one of them, you'll have to chase down and defeat the monster in order to free the nymph that's inside. Once you do this, the nymph will grant Rayman a special power that he can use to progress in his adventure. These powers consist of attacking, which Rayman should know how to do anyway, diving underwater, which Rayman should know how to do anyway, gliding in the air, running up walls, and the ability to grow and shrink whenever Rayman runs through one of these funnel-shaped cracks in the wall. The powers in this game are pretty, okay, I guess. There's really only 2 powers in this game that really stand out to me. Those being the gliding power and the wall running power. Mostly because, mechanically, they get the most uses. For example, the gliding power lets you, well, glide obviously, so you can reach longer distances. But in a few levels, you'll come across huge gusts of wind where if you use the gliding ability while you're inside them, the wind will carry Rayman upward or allow him to move further. It almost lets you sort of fly around some parts of the level in a sense. And then there's my personal favorite, the wall running ability. It does exactly what the name implies. If you come across a slant in the wall, Rayman can run up it, as well as jump between any other walls that might be nearby, while still keeping the momentum of his run, which allows him to do some pretty sick parkour tricks like this. Yeah! Oh, wait, hang on a second. Alright, check these moves out. Darn it, hang on, wait. You haven't seen anything like this. Darn it! Alright. First try, baby! It's by far my favorite ability in the game, as it's so much fun to use. However, those are really the only 2 powers that get a lot of uses. Okay, so maybe the shrinking power does get 1 or 2 creative uses too, but it's really only in a few levels. See, when you're small Rayman, a few things can happen. 1, you can't kill enemies by jumping on them, because you're obviously a lot smaller and a lot lighter now. 2, your attacks can turn into dash attacks, which can actually be pretty useful in certain platforming challenges. And 3, you can jump higher and farther as Tiny Rayman. In some circumstances, and I put heavy emphasis on some Tiny Rayman can actually be pretty useful than normal-sized Rayman when trying to jump for lumps or skull coins that you might not have been able to reach otherwise. But, like I said, there are very few segments that are like that. Like, right now I can really only recall one level where you needed to do that to get some of the lumps. It's a very situational power that honestly doesn't really change a whole lot of Rayman's already existing abilities, aside from a few aesthetic things, like, aww, Rayman can't swing on ropes normally. You get it? Because he's so small and his weight can't move the rope? Aww, that is just totes adorbs. And then you have the two remaining powers, which really shouldn't even be considered powers to begin with when you think about it. Like the ability to punch and kick enemies. I don't know if I'm missing something in the Great Rayman lore or something, but I'm pretty sure you don't need fairy magic to be able to walk up to someone and be all like... Yeah, I'm pretty sure you should be able to just do that regardless. And then there's also the diving power, which makes even less sense, since Rayman's able to swim above the water perfectly fine right at the start of the game. But I guess he needs the magic to be able to tilt his head downward slightly to actually dive into the water because reasons. But anyways, we continue going through, collecting Electoons in any way we can. Completing bonus stages, time trials, gathering lumps, the useful stuff. And as we continue jumping our way through these fun and creative worlds, I'm sure you're probably wondering by now, why exactly are we collecting these Electoons anyway? What's our goal exactly? Who's in charge of the dastardly old people army, and who is the sinister, devious big bad that we're trying to foil? What evil scheme does he have cooked up for Rayman's homeland? Well, my friends, the answer to all of those questions is... I don't know. I don't, to be completely honest, half the time I don't even know what's even going on in this game in terms of this plot. A lot of the time, story elements just sort of come and go as they please. Like, there's never a single plot line that you have to work for to resolve. Remember at the very beginning of the game, where we were told we need to stop Disembodied Froghead from blowing bubbles? Well, guess what, boys and girls? He's never brought up again! Well, what about that cranky old lady that sent all those monsters after us? Surely with her basically kickstarting this whole adventure, she's gonna wind up taking the role as the main villain of this game. Never brought up again! Well, what about never brought up again? There's not any real story that happens here, which is why I haven't really been going over what actually happens in this game like in my other reviews, like, so Rayman escapes the cage and he decides to go after the plot device gem to stop the evil bad guy. So he jumps over some stuff and punches some people, and Globox gets murdered at some point, and that makes Rayman really angry, I guess. There's none of that. None of these things are present in this game right now. Now, with that said, I don't think it'd be really fair for me to say this game has no story at all, because it does. It's just not a very good wovenly together story. You do get the occasional plot point that'll just pop up whenever, but they're more used as a means to give you an objective to do in the game, and not so much to tell an actual storyline. It's there, I guess, but it's only there in very short bursts. This isn't really the type of game that has deep character development, or story arcs, or plot points. There is a plot twist that happens at the very end of the game, which we'll get to, but aside from that, this isn't really a game that focuses a whole lot on the story. But, you know, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe they didn't want to focus a whole lot on the story so they could focus more on making the actual gameplay fun. And that's a pretty big risk that you wind up taking, since you're basically ruling out an entire half of your game in favor of another. So if you're not going to focus on the story, you better make sure the gameplay is super on point and fun to play. Which, lucky for us, is exactly the case with this game. So, I guess I can cut them some slack here. And speaking of the gameplay being pretty fun, yeah, the gameplay is pretty fun. This is one of the few 2D platforms that I've bothered looking into, and I've gotta say, I'm quite impressed. Platforming feels very fluent, smacking enemies around feels super satisfying, and the level design is pretty top-notch. Most of the time. And I think a lot of the reason why the gameplay feels as satisfying as it is thanks to the game's controls. They're fantastic! Probably one of the best controls I've seen in a platformer game so far. At first glance, it seems pretty basic. You can run, jump, and attack. That's really all there is to it. But the controls of this game has this sort of fluidity to it. All of Rayman's actions just sort of smoothly flows into one another, allowing the ability to pull off some really awesome and satisfying platforming moves. I'm not kidding, this is one of the first things I noticed when I first played this. I'm really impressed with how good the controls feel in this game. The only time I ever felt like the controls were lacking a bit was in the underwater levels. And even then, I don't think that's so much the game's fault, but more the controller's fault. On the Wii version, you play the game by holding the Wii remote horizontally like you would with a normal controller. You use the D-pad to move Rayman around, and you hold down the B button on the back of the Wii remote to move faster. Where this works perfectly fine during the normal platforming levels, during the underwater sections, the controls felt just a little bit off to me. Maybe it's just me, but trying to steer Rayman while he's underwater felt a tad bit more difficult than it needed to be. However, I'm not really gonna blame the game for this. I think this has more to do with me playing on the Wii version, where you have to use the D-pad to move Rayman around. This game came out on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 as well, and although I don't have those versions, I'd imagine using an analog stick to rotate Rayman through the underwater depths would feel a lot more natural than using the D-pad. But we're not looking at the PS3 or Xbox versions today. We're looking at the Wii version, which is clearly the far superior version in every single possible way. So we eventually managed to save all the child-appropriate fairies from the devastating Opa. And we meet up with all of them on top of the snowy mountain, where they tell us that the kings are like, I don't know, they're having bad dreams or something, and we need them to open some random portal somewhere. I have no idea. I kind of stopped trying to understand this game's storyline at this point. Once that cutscene ends, we get access to 4 brand spanking new worlds that we're able to tackle in any order we want, which is pretty awesome. And at the end of each of these worlds, we need to fight a boss in order to revert the kings of each land back to their original selves. So how are the bosses in this game? They're... good? Question mark? They're just... I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the boss battles in this game. On the surface, they work like how pretty much every platformer boss works, which is learn their attack pattern, avoid them until the attack pattern ends, then hit them in their bulgy glowy spot a few times until you win. Sounds pretty simple, right? So what's the problem then, you might be asking? Just learn the attack pattern so you can defeat the boss. It's not that difficult to do, or at least it wouldn't be. That is until you realize that Rayman can only take up to 2 hits. I will say that again. Rayman can only take up to 2 hits. So there are these hearts that you can collect throughout the game. These hearts will allow Rayman to take 1 extra hit. To collect these, you'll either have to find one in a bubble and pop it, or you can find one by smashing this. As fine and dandy as that may be, here's the thing. If you're already carrying a heart and you try to collect another one, it'll just give you extra lumps instead. So you can really only carry 1 heart at a time. Now I'm sure some of you are gonna say that this is just a nitpick, and honestly, it probably is. In fact, throughout most of the game, this isn't really a huge issue. The only time it ever is an issue is during levels like these. See, the only way you could possibly cleanly get through most of these boss levels without taking a hit is if you already know what the boss is going to do ahead of time. Which, unless you're like so Raven and can see into the future or something, you're most likely not going to know if it's your first time playing. So what winds up happening is that the bosses become a game of trial and error because of how quickly you can die in this game. And before you can even figure out what it was you did wrong, you're already dead. And unfortunately, this issue isn't just in the boss fights. This is a problem that exists in a lot of the late game levels as well. Like, it's all over the place. This issue is most prominent in 2 specific types of levels. The bosses, and the types of levels where you're either chasing something or being chased by something. These pop up a few times throughout the main game, but they're most prominent in the optional treasure chest chase levels. Remember that area we start the game in with that freaky head-pulling frog creature? Well, in this area you can find a just as equally terrifying creature who may or may not be the Grim Reaper, no idea honestly, but he has a really big head though, just saying broski. Anyway, he's blocking an entrance to somewhere using his abnormally large head, and the only way he'll let us in is if we retrieve all of his red teeth that he lost. The red teeth can be found on these branching paths, which you'll see in every single world of the game. And if you collect enough Electoons to unlock the secret levels of these paths, you'll find a treasure chest that contains one of the red teeth. But all the treasure chests apparently have vivid flashbacks of their abusive past with Rayman, and are also alive somehow, so they won't let you open them without a fight. So you'll have to chase down the treasure chest, and if you manage to get to the end of the level, you can smash it open and get the red tooth that's inside. Easier said than done, because these levels are insane. There's so much crazy stuff that's happening during these levels. You've got platforms falling, enemies chasing you, all kinds of stuff. And you need to be super on point with nearly every single thing that happens. You better have that run button held down at all times during these levels. Because if you slow down, even slightly, you'll already be too out of sync with the level and you'll fall behind and die. So because you can't take a minute to slow down, you can't really observe the obstacles in front of you and try to carefully plan your way past them. No, you've got to jump in head first to keep up with the treasure chest. So what happens is you wind up running into crud that you would have no way of knowing was there unless, again, you've played the level ahead of time. How was I supposed to know a spike was going to just pop up in this exact location the first time around? How was I supposed to know this platform was going to fall and crush me if I didn't move in time? How was I supposed to know that the cannon was going to destroy these specific platforms in this specific order? The short answer is, you wouldn't. Unless you played the game before. The long answer is... Oh, and remember that one heart health system I told you about earlier? Well, during these levels you might as well have no hearts at all, because once you get hit, you come to a dead stop, and as we established earlier, slowing down these levels is basically instant death, so you might as well let Rayman fall into that piranha-infested pond and let them devour him alive just to get it over with. Go on, end it. Go on, just do it. Eat him! Eat him!
Eat his disembodied flesh!
And I'm not gonna act like these types of levels can't be done well. In fact, Rayman Origins actually proves that in a lot of its earlier levels. Take the level Moseying the Mountain, for example. My gosh, I swear this level is a platforming masterpiece. It's such a fun level to play through, and it's probably my favorite level in the game, to be quite honest. And you know what? It just so happens that this level has a chase sequence with one of those cage monsters that the nymphs are trapped in. You have to chase down the cage monster without letting it get too far away, much like the treasure chests. But the difference here is that, unlike the treasure chest levels, there isn't a ton of random crud being thrown at me while I'm trying to work fast. I'm able to do the fast-paced platforming that the game expects me to do, without having to worry about some random factor that I wouldn't be able to know about beforehand tripping me up. There aren't any random spikes poking out of the walls at the last minute, or random platforms falling out of the sky to crush me, or any of that. Now, sure, there are still obstacles to avoid in this section, as you would probably guess, but the game actually gives me time to avoid them. They're obstacles that I'm actually able to see coming, and therefore have enough time to react to and avoid. I'm not saying make the game easy. I'm saying don't pull crud like this right here, where you have no possible way of knowing what's coming up unless you've died to it first. That is just cheap and infuriating. And yet, I still press forward. Cause here I was, with only 2 red teeth left to collect, and a nagging question in the back of my mind. A question that I absolutely had to know the answer to. What happens when you collect all the red teeth? What's behind that door that grim Grandpa Boulderhead keeps blocking? Is it a secret boss? A minigame? A hidden cheat code menu that you can mess around in? Can I unlock Big Head Rayman mode? I need to know this! Well, I was gonna find out. I wasn't gonna let this question haunt me any longer. So I began my quest to collect every red tooth in the game. I grinded and grinded for all the Electoons that I could find to unlock the remaining treasure chest levels that I needed. Though the journey was going smoothly at first, I was soon met with 2 brutally difficult treasure chest levels. And I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't think I could do it. The challenge just appeared too great for even a Gamemaster to complete. And it looked as though my journey would have to come to a close. But I didn't give up. No. I was determined to get the remaining 2 teeth of the game. I was determined to see what grim Grandpa Boulderhead was hiding behind that door. And so, here we are. about to tackle the final 2 churches levels of the entire game. And I don't know about you guys, but I can only see one way of taking these levels down. We cue the epic montage music.
I'm not gonna play any montage music.
Oh, come on, dude!
Silence! I refuse to partake in your ridiculous internet skits.
Man, I've been sitting here for at least half an hour talking about this game that you forced me to play. Alright, do you know how long it took me to write a script for this video? Do you? Huh? It took a really long time to write a script about this game. Okay, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but it's actually really difficult coming up with things to say about this game. Alright, just let me have this.
No, I refuse.
Dude, come on.
No.
Please?
No.
Pretty please?
No.
Pretty please with sugar on top?
No! I'm not your personal jukebox, you infuriating sack of helium! I refuse to play your stupid montage music!
Well, fine. Then I'm not gonna play your game anymore. Oh, you like them apples, huh? Whoa. Fine.
This is an edited montage.
Whoa, man.
He's running up the
look at
walls
him go.
and jumping over spikes, escaping from the fish and chasing after chests. Whoa! And then I got all the teeth, and now the montage is over.
So, with all the red teeth in hand, we head back to GGBH, violently throw all the teeth in his mouth, and we finally get access to the secret door that he's been blocking this whole time. When we enter this door, we get taken to a secret bonus level called the Land of the Livid Dead, the home base of the dastardly Opa. Alright, a fun little bonus level, huh? I don't want to make going through all those brutally difficult churches levels worth it. Okay, let's just dive right in and see what fun— Whoa, God! Okay, hold on a second. Gosh! Not in the grape juice, not in the grape juice, not in the grape juice. Gosh! Dang it, what even hit me there? That's not quite enough of that, thank you very much. So eventually, we revert all the kings back to their normal selves, and they, as well as the nymphs, use their power to open a portal leading us to this robot factory for some reason. What the heck is the goal of this game again? So, all we have left to do now is make our way to the factory entrance so that we can put a stop to all this madness once and for all. I suppose now would be a good time to mention that the game also has you do these flying stages from time to time, and yeah, they're alright. They play out kind of like an old school space shooter. The game moves you forward automatically, and your job is to avoid obstacles and shoot enemies. You move around with the D-pad, and you rapidly press the 2 button to fire, spit, I think, to defeat incoming enemies and obstacles. You can even press and hold the 1 button to suck up enemies, then press 2 again to fire that enemy at other enemies. It's pretty fun stuff. The only negative thing I can really say about these stages is that, in my opinion, these stages pop up a little too often. I didn't mind it so much during the first half of the game, where they'd save these flying stages for the end of each world, making it to where you only had to do 1 flying stage per world. But as soon as you enter the second half of the game, they really start to overstay their welcome. They start having you do these in the middle of each world instead of the end, and they even start popping up during the bonus stages in the normal platforming levels. That right there is them kinda overdoing it a little bit. It kinda got to the point where I was starting to get sick of seeing these stages pop up everywhere. Like, I'll just be making my way through a normal platforming level, minding my own business, then I'll see a door leading to a bonus stage, I'll walk in, see the giant wasp-looking thing, and be all like, crud, this again. Now, that's not to say these stages are bad or anything, they are pretty enjoyable stages. I just think they're a tad bit overused is all, but hey, maybe that's just me. Anyways, we go through a flying stage, fight our way through the robot factory until we finally wrap the secret lair of the evil mastermind behind this whole operation. Oh hey, magician, wasn't expecting to see you here. Oh, but hey, you might not want to hang around here for too long though. There's this crazy guy making all these robots and stuff, and I think he might be close by here, so you might not want to hang around here for... Oh my gosh, who are you? Yup. Plot twist of the century, guys. That magician character that we've been collecting lumps for this whole time, turns out he's the villain. And he proceeds to drop us down a trap door where we have to battle our way through a boss rush to escape. Although, to be perfectly honest, calling it a boss rush is being generous. You literally only fight 2 out of the 4 bosses. Like, what kind of boss rush doesn't even have you fight all the bosses? That's literally the whole point of a boss rush. And I mean, it starts off cool. The concept is that you're fighting robotic versions of the bosses that you fought previously, which is a pretty awesome idea for a boss rush. But then after you beat the second boss, the game's just all like, I'm too tired, you can just end the boss rush here, it's fine. Anyways, after that, we return back to the Magician's Lair so we can give him a piece of our minds. Giving us a boss rush of only 2 bosses. Like, are you serious? Do you even know how a boss rush is supposed to work, you bald, bulbous nose freak of nature? I oughta... Wait, what's going on here? Oh, what the heck is happening right now? No, seriously, why are we dancing right now? What's even going on? Why, no, stop, can you just... What? What the heck was what was that? Why was that there? I mean, say what you want about the dance sequence itself. I mean, it was pretty entertaining, but it comes completely out of nowhere. Like, I hardly edited any of that. Okay, I just want to make that perfectly clear. That was literally how the pacing of the scene played out. You fight the bosses, you walk back into the lair, the magician's all like, ooh, and falls off his desk. Dance sequence. Anyways, we chase down the magician in another one of those annoying trial and error chase sequences, followed by an even more annoying flying stage where you have a billion homing missiles being fired at you at once, cause why not? My blood pressure totally isn't high enough at this point. We managed to chase the magician's airship down to the core of the factory, and instead of him steering the ship away from the deadly looking giant orb like a smart person would, he instead decides to give it a little boop with the pointy bit on the front. Boop! That magician. He can be such a silly goose. Rayman and the rest of his friends, who are suddenly with him somehow, manage to survive the explosion, and they begin to plummet back down to the surface, landing right on the exact same tree trunk that the game started on. And after they sit there for a moment, reflecting on this crazy adventure that they've been on, after saving all those Electoons, unlocking all those treasure chests, and finally putting a stop to the magician's evil scheme, they end this adventure the same way it started. By dropping some sick beats. It's like the whole game never happened. And there you have it, everybody. That is the end of Rayman Origins. Yeah, I can't really think of much else to say about this game, aside from maybe the Land of the Livid Dead level that we touched upon briefly before I decided to jump that ship, because... my gosh, I was so sick of the trial and error style chase levels by that point. I did eventually go back and decide to give that level another shot, once I had a chance to cool off in frustration of that level's brutally hard difficulty. And actually, I did wind up beating it. There's like an entire boss fight at the end that you get to do and everything, which was pretty awesome. But, regardless of all of that, I'd say that's about it. I've met all the criteria that I need to meet in order to complete my end of the bargain. This has certainly been a pleasure.
Has it now? Well, I'm pleased to hear you've gotten at least some enjoyment out of your capture.
I have. I'll be honest, there's definitely been way worse kidnappings than this.
Well, then I hope this game was able to show you just a small fraction of my true potential.
Dude, are you kidding me? You don't have to kidnap me to convince me you have some pretty awesome games. I'm serious, dude. This was a really great game. I mean, the only super negative thing that I can think of about the game is its over-reliance on those trial and error segments towards the end.
Well, the only one you can blame for that ordeal is yourself. You didn't have to put yourself through those grueling treasure chest levels.
Well, yeah, true, but you see, those sections were...
Think of it. Why didn't I think of that earlier? I could have been playing those challenges part of the deal, instead of having just played the game in general.
Yeah. So anyways...
Being forced to play those challenges for hours on end surely would have been a proper punishment for your betrayal against me.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but the thing is...
Slowly watching you slip deeper and deeper into madness with each passing failed attempt. Oh. That would be an experience I'd never forget.
Well, glad you find enjoyment in that.
That would be enough to put you in a mental institution. What do you think?
I don't know, honestly.
That would have been genius! Then they'd have to give you shock treatments to add to the torture!
Can we get off of this topic, please?
Maybe they could even apply enough electricity to kill you! Could that even be possible? I'll have to ask Dr. Marcel about that later. I'm coming up with so many good ideas today!
So, what I was saying was... the trial and error sections weren't just in the option levels. There were instances where they popped up in the main levels, too. Yeah, I'm serious. I mean, you even saw it. It was in the final level of the game, and in some of the boss battles. So you didn't even need to make playing those sections part of the deal, because I literally had no other choice but to play them anyway.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's one word to describe it anyway. I guess I shouldn't be too hard on the game, though, because in the end, they did learn their lesson and fix this little gripe I had with the game.
What do you mean?
Rayman Legends. It's the sequel to this game. Didn't you know that?
What? No, I don't recall them making a sequel.
Yeah, this game was actually so successful that Ubisoft went on to make the vastly improved sequel, Rayman Legends, on the Wii U.
What?
Yup. 2 whole years after Rayman Origins was released, we were hit with a direct sequel called Rayman Legends. If you thought this game was awesome, then I see no reason why you wouldn't enjoy the sequel. I really enjoyed Rayman Origins overall, but I absolutely love Rayman Legends. It does exactly what a video game sequel should do. Take the problems that the first game had, and improve upon them. So those trial and error sections that I just won't shut up about, well, they do kinda exist in the form of these time trials where you have to reach the end of the level as fast as you can before all 3 teensies blow up. The difference here, though, is that, unlike Rayman Origins, where they would throw these sections to the main levels as well, in Rayman Legends, they're completely optional. The trial and error issue is only reserved for these bonus stages, which you don't even have to do. Unless, of course, there are some main levels in this game that have this problem that I'm just forgetting about, which in that case you can feel free to email me your complaints at gamemastersthehypocrite@gamemail.trash. So if you're like me and these types of segments just aren't your thing, you can completely skip these levels if you really want to, and you'll still be able to beat the game just fine. And not only that, but Rayman Legends improves on a ton of other things too. The flying stages are completely gone, unless you play the Back to Origins levels, which, again, are completely optional. Ooh, and hey, you wanna know why I'm randomly cramming in a sort of mini review of Rayman Legends into this already pretty long video? Well, you see, my friends, that's because, whereas Rayman Origins had a rather sloppily put together storyline that comes and goes as it pleases, Rayman Legends completely makes up for that by having no story at all. I guess maybe some people agreed with me that the story in the first game wasn't very good, and it seemed like they weren't too focused on it to begin with, so for the sequel they were probably all like, nah. Like I said though, not every game needs a story to be fun, and boy is this game fun. The controls are just as fluent as before, the bosses are way more memorable this time around, but the best addition that this game has, and by far the parts of the game that I look forward to the most, are those awesome music levels. This game is fantastic, an amazing improvement over an already pretty solid game. It has fun gameplay, fantastic fantastic controls, and even a little bit of charm to top it all off. It's one of my new favorite platformer games of all time, and if you haven't played it already, I highly recommend you get it right this second.
Enough!
Jeez. Whoa, hey, what are you doing, dude? We had a deal. I reviewed the game just like you said.
And then proceeded to praise the version that my arch rival owns, calling it an improvement over the original. Meanwhile, you bury my kind's prequel to this supposed masterpiece, like complain about trivial matters like its difficulty and lackluster narrative.
I never said I had a problem with difficulty.
No matter the effort I put into these games, I'm always going to play second fiddle to that glorified Apple product. That's all I am to you, am I? Just an inferior system to the Wii U.
No. I mean, technically you are, if we're talking about specs and the actual technology that went to make it.
That's it! I've run out of patience with you. I see now there's no convincing you who the true superior system is. I'm not wasting my time with you any longer. It's time for you to perish!
No. No, wait, please. Please, you don't have to do this! No! No!
I got your blaster here and a couple of... Was I interrupting something?
Oh, no, nothing important really. I was just sitting here, cowering in fear while my evil talking video game console slowly drains the life out of me, using what is essentially neurotoxin from the Portal games. And also, how are you here right now?
Well, I started by opening the door and then I walked
No.
in.
Before that.
Oh. Well, Mom was pregnant.
After that.
Oh, well, I have no idea what you mean. I just walked into your room and you were screaming
Wait,
at the top.
my room? What are you talking about?
You know, your new room in your new house?
New house? You didn't say anything about a new house.
Yes, I did. I've been telling you about it for ages now. Don't you remember? Oh, hey, son. Just finished packing everything up?
Yeah, cool, that's great.
So, have any questions, let me know.
Uh-huh.
Kind of excited to check out that new place.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, were you saying something? Oh. You left. Probably wasn't anything important. Wait, so we're not trapped in a virtual world right now?
What? No.
So there weren't any, weird futuristic tractor beams that transported you here?
No, but we did use this pretty nifty gizmo called a car.
Don't get sarcastic with me, that's my character quirk. So, no virtual world?
Nope.
Everything in here is real?
Yep.
I'm real?
Yep.
You're real? This whole world we're in is real right now?
Yep.
No virtual world?
Nope.
What's in that air purifier?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
What is it?
The fans in here are so dusty.
That it?
Yeah. I just cleaned them like a couple of weeks ago.
But, there's no, toxic waste barrels or vials filled with poisonous gas or anything?
No, there isn't. Where the heck did you get an idea like that, buddy?
April Fools.
It's not April Fool's Day.
Curses! The naive innocence method has failed me!
Gosh darn it, dude. It really has been a slow scheming day for you, hasn't it?
Do not underestimate my abilities, you irritating meat sack. I'll have you know everything was going according to plan until a spiky-haired human who clearly lacks any communication skills walked in and interrupted the whole operation.
Right. Quite the operation you got there. Threatened to kill me with poisonous gas through an air purifier that you probably don't even have remote access to.
The air purifier was merely supposed to serve as a distraction until I gained access to the deactivation codes for the ACT security system so that I get really surprised! Did you really think I was going to sit here and watch as you continue to praise that idiotic, worthless excuse for a system?
I don't know. Maybe. After I just got done praising one of your games and saying how great it is?
Oh, praising it, please. If that's what that was supposed to be, then you have a funny way of praising something. After you went on to compliment this Legends game on my competitor system and labeling my version as the weaker, inferior version of
Okay,
the—
will you stop that? Can you drop the whole "this is better than that" shtick already? It shouldn't matter which game I liked more. I liked Rayman Origins either way. I don't know why you keep acting like I didn't.
You say that, yet you spent a considerably large amount of the review complaining about the difficulty of the chase sequences, and how the story was incredibly—
Okay, stop. First of all, I didn't say I didn't like the chase levels because I thought they were hard. I didn't like them because I didn't think they were very fair. There's a difference. Second of all, yeah, I may have a few problems with the game, but that doesn't change the fact that I still liked it. Some of those trial and error sections were incredibly infuriating, no doubt about it, but I pushed forward anyway because I enjoyed everything else about the game. I didn't have to do all those chase levels, but I did them anyway, because I wanted to see what else the game had to offer if you did all of them. Do you really think I would have gone through all of that trouble if I hated this game? Huh? You can keep assuming that I think your games are inferior to the Wii U's all you want, dude. But that doesn't change the fact that whenever I review a game, I review it on its own merits. A game should be good no matter what system it's on. And this game is no different. Because Rayman Origins isn't a bad game at all. Legends definitely is my favorite of the two. Hands down. But I probably wouldn't have even given that game a second thought if I haven't played this game first. Does Rayman Origins have its problems? Absolutely. Do I wish the bosses and chase levels relied way less on trial and error? Definitely. Would I have liked to see a bit more effort put into the story? A little bit, yes. But none of these change the fact that overall, I thought this was a pretty solid game. The level design is usually pretty great, collecting stuff and smacking enemies around feels super satisfying. The controls are some of the best that I've seen in a platformer game. It's just a super fun game overall, and both Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins have become one of my new favorite platformer games of all time. It has its problems and a few annoyances here and there, but overall, I'd say Rayman Origins is a fantastic game. And if you haven't played it already, whether on PC, PS3, Xbox, and yes, even the Wii, I say you should pick yourself up a copy and check out the game for yourself.
You do realize you're talking to a wall.
I don't know. What about it? You got a problem with the wall? What are you doing against the walls, man?
Nothing. It's just that...
Did it wall kill your family? Do you have some sort of intense prejudice against walls?
Nope. I just think it's weird that you're talking to a wall as if it could talk back to you.
Maybe I like talking to the wall. Maybe it's lonely. You never know, man. I mean, it's not like it has much going for itself. It just sits there all day doing... wall things.
Okay, fine. But what are we going to do about him?
Oh, yeah. Well, he did try to kill me with an air purifier, which is an experience I thought I'd never have in real life, but he probably does deserve some sort of punishment, and I think it'd be nice to, let all that built-up aggression on the one who did us wrong.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more.
Oh, come now. We're not actually resorting to this, are we? Come on. I'm sure we can still be civilized about all this. Just slightly. Gentlemen. Great. Oh, God. Oh, God. It's terrible. That's my only eye. Ouch. Oh, gosh, not to distract. Oh, hey, that actually didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. Ouch.